Good evening, folks. This is Diamond from the Oppenheimer Ranch Project on Saturday, October 21st, 12:06 a.m., 2017. What you're looking at is more grand solar minimum flooding, increased cosmic ray flux, widespread riverine flooding hits Trinidad and Tobago, heavy rain to last for days. The Trinidad and Tobago Meteorological Service is maintaining the riverine flood alert for Trinidad due to heavy rainfall associated with the Intertropical Convergence Zone. Heavy rain that started Wednesday, October 18th, caused major floods in part of Trinidad and Tobago, leaving numerous submerged homes, roads, and farms, and thousands of marooned citizens. The threat for moderate to heavy showers, additional flooding, and landslides will continue across the country over the weekend and into next week. This is due to increased cosmic rays moving into the grand solar minimum. Folks, what you're looking at are farms across Queensland, clearly flooded. Record-breaking rain and flooding wreaked havoc across Queensland, affecting the food supply. That's correct. Those are fields that are underwater there. Record-breaking rain and flooding wreaked havoc across Queensland the past 7 days, forcing evacuations, causing power outages, road closures, and widespread crop losses. It'll be a few days before they know the actual numbers, but this is not looking good. Widespread crop losses. 1 dead, 6 are missing. For farmers, it's been one extreme to another, from drought to deluge. It's a heads up there. Climate change could spell disaster for coffee, but science may offer a solution. Rising temperatures, what are they talking about, are expected to shrink the already scarce area of the world's surface suitable for growing coffee. Well, falling temperatures will do the same thing. And this group is growing varieties of coffee to be for rising temperatures. So that's not good right there. Not good, looking good for coffee. If you know Adapt 2030, where he came from, he's from the coffee trading industry, and he noticed it getting colder and it killing coffee and affecting the yields. So I'll leave links to all this. So heads up here. Ebola-like Marburg virus disease presence declared in Uganda. This is hemorrhagic fever. You know, this is like a zombie apocalypse, bleeding from the eyes, spitting blood. That's what this is. Statement comes after one confirmed case was detected and died. So we'll watch this. Diseases are going to be on the increase as we descend into the grand solar minimum, like bubonic plague. Storm Brian will be there in 12 hours. There's a lot of hype about this storm. There's a lot of pretty colors. Yeah, look at all those colors, man. 90 to 110 kilometers per hour. It's like Ophelia all over again, ladies and gentlemen. There's the low. Hold on to your hats. Let's talk about earthquakes. Interesting earthquake kicking off today here in Scottsboro, Alabama. 2.7. Nothing to do with New Madrid, just a unique quake. Now, if we come and just look up here on the west coast, you can see the typical activity. But this is some Yellowstone activity, folks, right here. Down here, we've got the Soda Springs, Idaho activity. And if we go 7 days, all magnitude. Let me try to melt down the computer. We got all this activity up here in Lincoln, Montana. This is one of the most active earthquake cities in America. you don't know about it, I'll leave you links to this. Montana's long active history of earthquakes. The last major earthquake that caused major damage was in 1925. It was a 6.5, I believe. 6.6, they think, in 1925. But it killed people. And if you just come back in the sunspot history, in 1925, it was during this Glassberg minimum low cycle here, similar to this cycle where we're in. So it's a heads up there. I'll leave you links to this article. It's pretty interesting. Montana's long active history of quakes. Let's look at this. This is Yellowstone's magmatic system because we just saw some quakes above Yellowstone there. This is the last 7 days activity. And today there was some activity in Yellowstone. Right there. We just go to today. And that's at Old Faithful. Right here. And this is the magma chamber. Folks. These three. That is the Yellowstone magma chamber. Right here. With the gas-filled chamber. Now, I have a video here that's pretty nice that we can run through. And this is from the University of Utah. And this is an animation showing the volcanic system beneath the Yellowstone volcano. And this is the gas-filled chamber where the hydrothermal venting would happen, or a major hydrothermal event. But the magma could come up. That's what we got there. I'll run it through one more time. I'll leave you links to this. Scientists discover a huge magma chamber. That's this yellow part. But that's what we're looking out for. And I wanted to close on one other thing. There's a couple good articles out on the Little Ice Age. Shrank Europeans, literally shrank people, and sparked wars. Pretty interesting article. Came out in 2011 from National Geographic. It says pockmarked with wars, inflation, famines, and shrinking humans. It says shrinking humans. The 1600s in Europe came to be called the general crisis. Now, this is also the Maunder minimum, folks, which is a grand solar minimum, which we're going into. So if we just check the GSP2 data here, about every 400 years, there's a peak here. These are the climatic peaks where civilizations thrive. Empires thrive. And then they fall off a cliff in a short period of time, and they're doomed again and again and again and again and again. And this is the Maunder minimum. So if we check out the heartbeat of the sun, this is back here during this amplitude, the Maunder minimum. We're going into the modern minimum down here in this tiny amplitude. Wars, inflation, famines, and shrinking humans. The 1600s in Europe came to be called the general crisis. But whereas historians have blamed those tumultuous decades on growing pains between feudalism and capitalism, a new study points to another culprit, the coldest stretch of climate change period known as the Little Ice Age. It's a great article. There's also this article on the Little Ice Age in colonial Virginia. The Little Ice Age was a climatic period lasting from 1300 to 1750 when worldwide temperatures cooled slightly. And this is an interesting article because it actually gives you practical information on what happened and what we can look forward to. So let's come down here to the effects. Whatever the cause or causes of the Little Ice Age, scientists and historians agree on its effects. Unusually wet springs that caused flooding, hot and dry summers that led to droughts and particularly cold winters. On January 30th, 1607, a massive flood, possibly caused by a tsunami, struck southwestern England, killing as many as 3,000. One contemporary account describes a scene in Somerset County in which an infant was found swimming in a cradle, some mile or two fro ye place where it was known to be kept, and so was preserved. For the cradle was not of wicker, as are here in London, but of strong thick boards, closely joined together, and that saved the infant's life. Droughts were the greatest problem in America when the Jesuit missionaries, led by Virginia Indian Don Luis de Velasco, arrived on the James River in the autumn of 1570. They encountered dry conditions and hunger. So there is, on the East Coast, going to be drought, epic drought. And there's all kinds of accounts of drought. Let's just go through a few more. We find the land of Don Luis is in quite another condition than expected, one of the missionaries wrote, not because he was at fault in his description of it, but because our Lord has chastised it with 6 years of famine and death, which has brought it about that there is much less population than usual. Famine and death, much less population. When Thomas Harriot, John White, and the other English colonists landed in Roanoke in 1585, they found a land in the midst of unprecedented drought. The years 1587, 1588, and 1589 were the driest in the previous 800. The corn began to wither, Harriot wrote, and the Indians worried that the drought was somehow connected to the arrival of the English. Conditions were just as bad when the English sailed into the Chesapeake Bay in 1607. Tree ring studies conducted by scientists from the University of Arkansas, who examined a bald cypress near Jamestown, discovered that the colonists arrived at the beginning of a 7-year drought, 1606 to 1612. In fact, the driest period in 770 years. Cold weather, meanwhile, was a constant threat. The Thames River froze above London Bridge during the winter of 1607 and 08, leading to the first of the so-called frost fairs, or festivals held on the river. The cold also caused hunger. As a contemporary writer, in an imaginary dialogue between a country man and a city man, reported, the poor plowman's children sit crying and blowing their nails. The countryman says, as lamentably as the children and servants of your poor artifices, hunger pinches their cheeks, as deep into the flesh as it doth into yours here. You cry out here, you are undone for coals, and we complain, we shall die for want of food. That winter in Virginia was no less severe. John Smith wrote of a cold so miserable that a doggy would have scarce have endured it. The colonist Francis Perkins, writing to a friend in England on March 28, 1608, described a cold so intense that one night the river at our fort froze almost all the way across, although at that point it is as wide again as the one at London. The ice in the river froze some fish which, when we took them out after the ice was melted, were very good. And that is what we have to look forward to. Folks, I'll leave you links to these articles. Hope you got something out of the video. We're headed into a cold period that's unprecedented, but there is historical information on it, and I'll leave you links to these articles. Share this with friends. Spread the information.